Welcome to Unleashing Happiness. This is your host, Cecilia Hendricks. And today for our Mindset Monday, it actually worked out really cool and really well because we ended up having not only a new month, we have a brand new year, a brand new week. It fell on a Monday. It's super exciting and it's such a great way to do a really awesome reset on the way that you are thinking, feeling, the attention that you're giving. It's like perfect for a Mindset Monday motivation podcast episode. And so I'm really excited to get this one started. So today I'm going to be talking a lot about renewal of your mind. So I'm reading from Neville Goddard's The Power of Awareness, which talks about kind of the renewal of your mind, paying attention to the consciousness that you're putting out and the assumptions that you're making and the way that you can make changes in your own life. And then also Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself was actually one of the books that triggered the kind of thought for me of, wait a minute, in order to make these changes and to get these teachings like the law of assumption, law of attraction to start working in my life, I need to really start to pay attention to the thought process that I'm having and the attention that I'm giving, and really change the identity that I'm holding. So that book triggered for me to say, wait a minute, I need to think about my actual identity, the person that I am being through the habits and the routines that I'm keeping each day. And so that one was really a foundational turning point, pivoting point for me to say, okay, I'm starting to get this. I'm starting to understand it more. And I just absolutely loved that book. It's definitely one of my favorites. It's still one of my favorites. And one of my favorite quotes from Dr. Joe Dispenza's book is, if you want a new outcome, you will have to break the habit of being yourself and reinvent a new self. And what a day to really start to reinvent a new self for you. Once you start to shift your identity and you stop thinking of this outcome that you're trying to force within your current identity, because that's never going to work. It's just going to create a cycle of frustration. But once you start to shift your actual identity, change truly who you are, right? Like you'll keep some of the same values. You'll still be, Joe or Cecilia or whoever you are, but you can change the pieces of your identity and change who you are and the habits that you keep to identify with the type of person that you want to be, the type of person who has the outcome that it is that you want. So if you think about somebody who can wake up every morning and pay all of their bills, no problem, and has plenty of money, what are some actions that that person would take? How do you think they would think? If you were that person, how would it feel? How would you feel when you woke up? How would you feel when you went to bed? What type of daily activities would you continue to keep? And one for me that was really big and that I had to pay attention to was the time that I spent on my phone watching others do the things that I wanted, or listening to others teach me how to be who I want to be. And of course, that's what I'm here to do as well, right? It's like I'm saying, hey, I learned how to do this. I want to share it out with you so that you can do it as well. But what I don't want you to do is to get into a cycle where you're constantly either listening or watching my videos or somebody else's videos or the podcast or anything else. You should use this for information and motivation and maybe to stay inspired. And it's always good to read and to learn from other people, but only if you take that and you actually apply it into your own life. You don't want to get stuck in a cycle of only consuming more and more and more content, thinking that there's more you need to learn. You need to just take a look at your life and say, okay, if I was this person, if I had this thing, if I had this outcome, what would be some of the behaviors that I would have each day? How would I spend my morning? How would I spend my day? How would I feel when I went to bed at night? What are the things that I would either start or stop doing in my life if this was an outcome that I already had, that I had already obtained? How would that feel on a day-to-day basis? So in reading again from Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, it says psychologists tell us that by time we're in our mid-30s, our identity or personality will be completely formed. This means that for those of us over 35, we have memorized a select state of behaviors, attitudes, beliefs, emotional reactions, habits, skills, associative memories, conditioned responses, and perceptions that are now subconsciously programmed within us. Those programs are running us because the body has become the mind. This means that we will always think the same thoughts, feel the same feelings, react in identical ways, behave in the same manner, believe the same dogmas, and perceive reality the same ways. About 95% of who we are by midlife is a series of subconscious programs that have become automatic. Driving a car, brushing our teeth, overeating when we're stressed, worrying about our future, judging our friends, complaining about our lives, blaming our parents, not believing in ourselves, and insisting on being chronically unhappy, just to name a few. So what this is saying is that you actually get into a habit and that your body takes over because your mind is actually, and by mind, I mean our actual brain, is designed to save energy and to conserve energy. It's a survival mechanism. And so the more that you return to a thought, a feeling, a belief, a routine, a habit, the more it just becomes part of who you are because your body is actually taking over at that point. You are unconsciously starting to make choices in the way that you're behaving and the things that you're doing because it's just designed to save you the time and the energy. So when you become aware, you wake up and you start to make the conscious choices that I'm not going to do this any longer. One, at first it'll be very uncomfortable because your body and your mind is like, wait a minute, wait, why are you doing this? But two, you'll start to see very, very quick shifts within your life. So now I'm going to actually read, it's from chapter 3 of The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. To be transformed, the whole basis of your thoughts must change. But your thoughts cannot change unless you have new ideas, for you think from your ideas. All transformation begins with an intense, burning desire to be transformed. The first step in the renewing of the mind is desire. Then you must make your future dream a present fact. You do this by assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled. By desiring to be other than what you are, you can create an ideal of the person you want to be and assume that you already are that person. If this assumption is persisted in until it becomes your dominant feeling, the attainment of your ideal is inevitable. Your attitude should be one in which, having desired to express a higher state, you alone accept the task of incarnating this new and greater value of yourself. In giving birth to your ideal, you must bear in mind that the methods of mental and spiritual knowledge are entirely different. This is a point that is truly understood by probably not more than one person in a million. You know a thing mentally by looking at it from the outside, by comparing it with other things, by analyzing it and defining it, thinking of it. Whereas you can only know a thing spiritually by becoming it, thinking from it. You must be the thing itself and not merely talk about it or look at it. You must be like the moth in search of its idol, the flame, who spurred with the true desire, plunging at once into the sacred fire, folding his wings within till he became one color and one substance with the flame. Just as the moth in his desire to know the flame was willing to destroy himself, so must you, in becoming a new person, be willing to die to your present self. When you consider this fact from both of these teachers, what they're telling you is that you cannot be the person you want to be, remaining the person that you are now. And this doesn't have to be some drastic thing that you don't hold any of your ideals and your entire life shifts and even the parts that you're enjoying shift. I got caught up in that a little bit when I first started. Like, well, what if there's parts that I enjoy? What kind of parts of me need to die to my present self in order to have this renewal of the mind and this refreshed life? But you're able to choose the states that you want to fall into, choose the areas that you want to pay attention to and that you want to change and see something new, and present yourself as becoming this new person. And you become a new person by changing the behaviors that you continue to keep. And this is the most refreshing and motivating and beautiful statement to understand is that you can actually make the choice of the way that you want your life to be by choosing the identity that you want to keep. So again, if we go back to someone who is able to pay their bills, they wake up each morning and they don't have a problem paying their bills, going out to the lunch they want, doing the shopping that they want, whichever part that it is. If you are that person, how would that feel? What would be the routines that you would keep? And so an example of this would not be, and I want to be very clear on this, would not be I'm just going to go max out my credit cards because I am going to be a wealthy person. That on a very deep level will actually create more frustration and concern and like being scared for yourself. It's not necessarily going to be this like, aha, now I have all the money in the world that I need and I don't have to be concerned and I'm just going to go waste my credit card. Because remember, it's going to be whatever those feelings are that are bubbling up within your mind. And so if you do that and you're trying to tell yourself over and over, I am wealthy, I am wealthy, I am wealthy, but yet the true feeling is, oh my gosh, I just maxed out my credit cards. What the heck am I going to do? What was I thinking? Why did I do that? I'm in a panic. How am I going to pay my rent? That feeling that's coming from within is actually going to override anything that you're attempting to tell yourself. Now, that's not to say that using robotic affirmations will never work for anyone. I definitely think you have to figure out what works for you and what makes sense for you and what plays out the way that you need it to in your life, which is fantastic. And we should all be doing that because different things work for different people. Like I like to really think in a feeling and create my habits and tell myself essentially when I do this set of habits and this set of routines within my day, it's because I'm this person. So I want to make sure I'm clear on that. I say, okay, if I'm going to be somebody who can pay their bills, always has enough money, etc., I would wake up each morning, I would move my body, I would read my books, I would spend time focusing on my business and the content that I want to put out. I would spend my morning very relaxed and enjoying life and get some morning sun and do things that make me feel good. When I do that stuff for myself, I'm telling myself subconsciously and truly consciously that when I do this, it's because I'm this person. Because to me, being someone who is wealthy and is financially secure behaves in X way. And so when I do this, it's because I am a financially secure, wealthy person. Another example of this would be, so Neville Goddard also taught it, Isn't It Wonderful? Where essentially there was a woman that each morning spent time just kind of feeling like something wonderful was happening to her. And she was always kind of just like basking in that feeling that something wonderful was happening to her. And things did wonderfully happen for her, which was amazing. And so Neville taught that, and you'll hear that as like a technique from Neville Goddard. And so I do this with the daily joys. When I am spending time in my day creating joy for myself, it's because I'm a person who has a wonderful life and that things are always working out for. And so I know when I bask in those feelings of gratitude and appreciation and joy and happiness for me, it's because what's coming out from me is this really wonderful life. And so I have so many things to be thankful for, but I'm creating that feeling internally so I see it externally. But when you're in conflict with yourself, the feeling is always going to win. It's not to say that eventually the robotic affirmations will not end up having the desired outcome that you want. I definitely think that can happen. We see tons of people who have great success with that. It's not personally what has worked for me. I've never been able to stick with the robotic affirmations long enough to really say like, yes, I've seen this work in such a wonderful way. I've used a little bit more of a lullaby method where I've gone to sleep thinking a phrase while I'm thinking of a person. And that has worked really well for me. But it's been a little bit different than the robotic affirmations. But if you are making the changes in your life to say, this is the kind of person that I am, just make sure that you're not creating a conflict within yourself. It would be the same if you are, seeking love in your life and you're like, well, I have this love. I'm a person who's loved. So I'm going to send a long text message, even though I'm blocked. I'm going to do it from a fake number or something, professing my love and how much we should be together. That's going to create conflict within you because you realize on that same level that you're actually blocked by this person and they have stated they don't want to hear from you, and you're trying to force an external condition by making an action that is not really in alignment with your current self or your current identity. Just for like a recap in that, your identity, yourself, your concept of self, your state is all essentially the same thing. It's what you believe true of yourself. So do you believe that you are a fulfilled person living a life of joy, that you really enjoy your days, that you go to bed feeling content, feeling happy, feeling like you had a successful day, and however that looks for you, right? Like what Neville said in The Power of Awareness, you want to start with this burning desire. There comes a point in life, I know that I hit it, and I would imagine if you're listening here that you've either hit it or you're getting really close to it, where you say, I don't want to continue this. This is not the life that I want to continue to live. This is not the way that I want things to continue to go for me. So I need to make a change. And that creates that burning desire for you. And then you identify, okay, if this change was there, what would that feel like? What type of person would I be if I had this desired outcome? Whether that's a love within your life, that's wealth within your life, that's just an overall feeling of joy and happiness within your life. It's a certain career, it's getting into a school. It can actually be anything that you want it to be, but how would that feel? And what would those daily habits look like? So another quote from Dr. Joe Dispenza's book is, so if we want to change some aspect of our reality, we have to think, feel, and act in new ways. We have to be different in terms of our responses to experiences. We have to become someone else. We have to create a new state of mind. We need to observe a new outcome with that new mind. So think about that for a minute. You have to behave and react in a different way. So let's say, for example, something happens to you that you don't like. Maybe it is your spouse or your partner or a friend. They react in a way or they don't give you the kind of love that you're looking for. If you continue with that same type of reaction to that, the same type of emotional knee-jerk, but also continued reaction, you are continuing the same cycle of whatever came out of that. So a habit starts with a cue. So that cue could be somebody saying something to you that you don't like. It falls into a routine, and that routine can be physical. Either you act out in a physical way, or it can also be an emotional reaction. And then you get a reward. And that reward can be anything, either a dopamine spike, releasing of, relaxation chemicals in the mind, feeling like you've been vindicated, whatever it is, you get some sort of a reward. And the more you get a reward, the more your brain is like, oh, we should continue to do this. So if you look at it, like, let's say it's your spouse and you want your spouse to do something for you just because they wanted to, right? It's something to show you love, and they don't do that thing. And your cue when they don't do that is to lash out and tell them how frustrated you are and how mad you are. And it begins a fight. And at the end of that fight, you feel vindicated because you've given them a piece of your mind and you've let them know what a bad partner they are. And that the way that they behaved was not in alignment with the way that you want a relationship to go. If you want to start seeing different outcomes within your life and getting more love from your partner, it needs to start by controlling your emotional reactions to this external event. You're going to interrupt and change the current habit cycle that you have. And you do this through emotional intelligence. There's a few different ways to do it. One is to start with some sort of breathing exercise. The quicker you can catch yourself, the better. So you feel yourself getting upset, Say, you know what? I'm making a change. I'm becoming a person who is treated in a very loving and caring and desired way. So this is not something that I want to continue, which means I have to break the cycle. If there's anything in life that you do not appreciate, that you don't want to continue, you need to stop and take a look at what habit, routine you fall into every time you get triggered by that cue. And the cue can be a person, it can be a place, it can be a smell, it can be a time of day. And you can use this for anything going on in your life, whether it's not getting accepted to a school, whether it's not getting the response from your boss that you want, getting turned down for jobs left and right, not having the financial security that you want, not having the love in your life that you want, not having the friends that you want, anything you want. Take a look and say, okay, this is my desired outcome. How do I behave currently in these situations that are not the way that I want my life to go? What are the cues and the routines that I'm falling into? And what can I change? And you start really, really small. So let's say it's your spouse, again, not doing the thing that you want them to do. You take a deep breath so that you immediately calm yourself. There's tons of different breathing exercises that you can do. The one that I like the most and that calms me the quickest is I take a huge deep breath in through my nose and I hold it at the top, and then I take another quick breath in. It literally feels like my lungs are going to explode. I hold it for about 2 to 3 seconds, and then I release slowly through my mouth. It only takes one for me to immediately calm down, and then I can start to think about, okay, what am I feeling? And I ask myself, what is the emotion that I am feeling right now? And this has been scientifically proven to take out the emotionally high charged feelings behind that. So it's called the name it, tame it technique if you'd like to look it up. But I ask myself, what is it that I'm feeling right now? And once I do this, I'm now calm and I can look at this situation from a new lens and I can make a decision on what type of life outcome do I want? So what would be beneficial to this? How can I, in this moment, talk to my spouse in a much more empathetic, open, and loving way that does not make them feel defensive? How can I see things a little bit differently? Because I want to have at the end this amazing relationship with open communication, honesty, loyalty, this really beautiful, loving relationship. How would I act in this situation if that's what I had? And part of that would be talking to them and saying, I feel this way in this situation. I need this. So I feel misunderstood and overlooked when the trash isn't taken out and it's left for me to do it after doing the dishes. I need you to help me by taking out the trash. At that point, my behavior towards my spouse is much more open, and I'm just sharing my needs and I'm sharing how I feel about a situation, not telling them, you are so selfish because you never take out the trash and you always just leave it for me like I'm your household maid. Well, that kicks off an argument, right? That creates defensiveness in this other human that I'm trying to partner with. And that's not the type of relationship that I want as my desired outcome. So I'm going to change my routines within this relationship, within the way that I behave, within the way that I talk to them, to be more reflective of the type of relationship that I want. And again, you can do this with anything in life, whether it's finding a new relationship, whether it's taking better care of your body. If you start to pay attention to the behaviors that you're continuing and then start to make changes within those behaviors, you can literally change anything within your life. And this goes back, last week I did an episode on your inner speech. You'll notice as you start to make these changes, your inner speech also starts to change, but you can consciously make those choices as well. Let's say that one of your cues is getting into the car to drive to work, and you just start arguing with people in your head about how you don't want to do this and you don't enjoy your job and everybody's against you and you're always kind of being told you're doing everything wrong. Well, if Your desired outcome is one of having a wonderful career that you're really passionate about and that you really love doing and that you feel great about going to work. This would not be a routine that you would maintain. You would not maintain this emotional habit loop of having the cue of driving to work and then starting these internal dialogues of frustration and arguing with people and almost preparing yourself for the worst to happen. You would actually drive to work doing something else, either listening to an audiobook, listening to a podcast, or thinking about your list of awesome things that you're going to work on today at work that you're really excited about and passionate about. And so that's another example of the way that you can start to change the person that you are to be more reflective of who you want to be. And as you shift those identities, literally everything else shifts for you. And you'll start to see the external world shifting around you and your perception shifting and the way that you feel shifting and the way that you feel when you go to bed shifting. So pair these together. Definitely consider who you are. What are the things that you're maintaining? What are the habits and the routines that you're keeping? And even start to write them out. What are some small areas of life that you can look at? And I do want to recommend that you don't start huge. Keep it pretty small. You can make very small changes that, one, then keep it sustainable, and two, actually shift how you believe about your life and how you believe about yourself. So I hope that you found this motivating. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2024. I find it super exciting that we're here. I just think this year is going to be absolutely amazing. And I know that you are fully capable of having the life that you want to lead and really loving the life that you have. So have a beautiful week, and I will be back on Wednesday. Thank you so much again for joining me today. I hope that you have an absolutely beautiful week. If you did enjoy this episode, if you could please go ahead and subscribe and also leave a review or a comment if you're listening on YouTube, I would greatly appreciate it.